Alright, well here's an update on the whole catch can stuff and maybe a few other things on the Hummer in general that it might help you out. So the catch can, I'd say 3-port catch can, two inputs and 1 output. So you've got an inlet and an inlet, and then that's your outlet. Your outlet hooks to your intake to pull the vacuum, and then the two inlets for the catch can are hooked to those 2 ports on each side of the valve cover, and the one that goes into the intake I do have capped off, because otherwise it's going to give you a bad vacuum leak. And another thing about the catch can, you do have to maintain it. So every so often you got to unscrew it apart and clean it out with some rags and brake clean or whatever. And the other thing I also did, because you got to buy it separate, is it is good to get the little drain valve, so every so often you can drain out your catch can in between taking it apart and cleaning it. And the other thing I really updated recently was the intake. I went ahead and bought a air dock intake. I mean, it's super nice, and with shipping that was $170, so not a bad price at all. And it's nice because he actually does give you the little nub welded on to the intake pipe for your PCV. The other big thing I've done recently is, that's the controller, is a Mishimoto transmission cooler fan, and I have that mounted to a derail stacked plate cooler to keep everything about the transmission cool, and it does help a lot with the cooling on these things. But and another thing about, before I forget, about the oil or the catch can, so whenever, even if you don't use an air dock or whatever, one thing you always want to make sure you do is wherever you mount it into your intake, you want it after your mass airflow, because if you run that hose to your air box or something else, you're counting that mass airflow is counting that air twice, and you don't want that. You want it to count just once. So always put that hose going into your intake after the mass airflow. I guess that's it for now. Anybody wants to know anything else, just drop a comment, let me know.